While I say it's my story, I intentionally don't name the protagonist. I leave him unnamed because there are millions of people like me who were war babies. There's 18 million of us surviving war babies, followed by the baby boomers, but we're the war babies born during the war. And there are 18 million of people like me who went through life cycles like that. Yeah. And the paradigm shifts that took place in society as we wandered through the 20th century and how life changed. And we all of us had similar types of issues, some up, some down. Fortunately, I survived most of them and I'm here. Many people I know did not. And
I think it's incredible. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because you should have seen me preparing for this, trying to figure out every time it talks about the protagonist, it says he or his or him. Right. And I'm like, who the heck is he talking about? Is this Carl? I'm looking for the guy's name. But it just keeps going and it keeps you engulfed in the story. Hey guys, my guest today is a private investor who serves on a variety of boards, including the President's Advisory Council on Real Estate. Throughout his storied career as a businessman, he's advised and led many high-growth companies. From May of 2008 to February 2012, he served as CEO of e-commerce company SavingStreet. He co-founded Homeowners Group, a real estate services company, where he also served as president and CEO from 1982 to 1996. He penned his journey through life and titled it To Every Page a Turning. It actually debuts today as we record this episode. What an honor to welcome to the show a man of many incredible stories, Carl Buccellato.
Thank you, Mike. So happy to be here with you.
We made it happen.
We made it happen. There was a little technical difficulty as we started, but we worked it out.
Hey, you know what?
Isn't that like life? If you keep at things, you work it out.
I think, you know what? That's so true. So much of your story is overcoming a lot of adversity. We're going to get to that in this interview. And you really tell it in a beautiful way through your stories. I like the concept of your book. Again, anyone who wants to get that, I just want to give a shout out. It's officially out now as you're listening or watching this interview. It's available through Mascot Books, Amazon, Target, and other popular book retailers online. And I just want to say I enjoyed reading. I didn't finish it yet, as I told you off camera. And I like the fact that each story is kind of different. Each chapter is like a different story, but you did mention it intertwines. You're the main character, but also there's kind of another protagonist. Can you share more about the book quick?
Well, the book is the result of 50 years worth of journaling and notes. And many of them took place over different segments and times of my life, some of them high, some of them low, going through various recovery programs. I'm an adult child of an alcoholic, and for many years that haunted me with lots of trauma issues. And I went through those courses for quite some time, met some very interesting people, went through the 12-step program. And those original writings were very cathartic for me because they helped me to overcome certain pain and issues that, unless I had worked them out in the inner spirit, as nurturing the inner child, as they say, it just wasn't going away. I was becoming an angry man. And I was... I was a boxer when I was a kid, so it was very easy for me to take out my rage in the ring. And times that I spent around the world battling other people for whatever political reason it was, that happened. But there comes a time in every person's life when those writings have to be put into practice and change who you are and learn from what you have experienced. And hopefully, open myself to a higher spirit. In my case, it was Jesus. And just to overcome and to be able to share those experiences with other people. It's ironic because the book just launched today, but there's been a number of books that have been given out as samples to people to read in different walks of life. And the statements back about how they touch people has been very rewarding to me, because while I say it's my story, I intentionally don't name the protagonist. I leave him unnamed because there are millions of people like me who were war babies, There's 18 million of us surviving war babies, followed by the baby boomers, but we're the war babies born during the war. And there are 18 million of people like me who went through life cycles like that. Yeah. And the paradigm shifts that took place in society as we wandered through the 20th century and how life changed. And we all of us had similar types of issues, some up, some down. Fortunately, I survived most of them and I'm here. Many people I know did not. And
I think it's incredible. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because you should have seen me preparing for this, trying to figure out every time it talks about the protagonist, it says he or his or him. Right. And I'm like, who the heck is he talking about? Is this Carl? I'm looking for the guy's name. But it just keeps going and it keeps you engulfed in the story. And so I'm glad you pointed that out. So other people that listen and get the book, or they're watching this right now and they order your book, they're not going to be surprised. I know you kind of set it up in there as well. I also want to mention that when you were going through this, when you were writing these, like doing the journal, and it was cathartic to get it out, right. Some of your aggression, your happiness, you were journaling every emotion. Did you understand that you maybe, like, was it designed for you to reflect on later, or were you just doing it in the moment because it made you feel good?
Well, it helped me to work through the process of the moment. Some of it made me feel good. Some of it made me feel wretched, as you can imagine. But sure. What it was a tool to work through issues rather than stuffing them and having them become cancerous in a sense. Because if you don't work through these issues and you bring them into the light, they have a tendency to overcome you. And it's a terrible thing to happen to a person.
Right. Yeah. So you recommend it then if someone's, a big internalizer, it's really important to get that off your chest. And then it can be great to reflect on. And in your case, I think it was you and your lovely wife, Mary, were kind of cleaning out, was purging some stuff. She was doing like the tax paperwork, and you found all your notes from 50 years worth of journaling, and you decided to turn it into a book. Absolutely love it. I want to say this too. You're born in Brooklyn.
Yes.
As my mother was.
Really? Where?
55. I'm not exactly sure pinpoint accurate where in Brooklyn, but I simply know she was born in Brooklyn and they lived there for a short time before coming to Buffalo, which is where most of my family currently resides. My family's from Prata La Polina in Italy, in the Abruzzi region. But I thought that was interesting. And actually the last interview that came out yesterday on Mic'd Up was with the president of the Americas of Tritium. His name's, he's another Paisan, Mike Calise. I think you'll enjoy tuning into that. And he was born in Brooklyn. So when I saw that in your story, it's kind of like this common denominator. Pretty interesting.
We had a very large enclave of Italians in Brooklyn. And when I was growing up, we were about 80% Italian, 20% Jewish in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I didn't know we were a minority at that point, because everybody around me was similar to my background and experience. It was when I became older and I started traveling the world, and I realized we were a small group of people. And yet so many people came out of Brooklyn to do amazing things, wonderful things. They grew to large consequence. And I'm very happy to say in this month's issue of the NIAF, the National Italian American Foundation, puts out a magazine and a newsletter every month. And in this month's issue of Natuzzi, I am highlighted in the auguri section for this book. Oh, that's my Sicilian entree into the book.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? People are taking notice. I'll tell you that much. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. I want to talk about that. So you were in Brooklyn, right? You know, obviously in the New York area there. One of your first jobs, this was mentioned in one of the bios I read. You have multiple things. I had to collect a lot of information about you because you have a storied, many different things. You've been involved with business and investing. And one of your first jobs, actually it was your first job as a teenager, was working for Western Union as a messenger, right? Messenger boy.
That's right.
It didn't take you long to own the streets of the Big Apple, right? So I want to talk about, you inked a deal. It was a multi-million-dollar deal in the boardroom of, at the time, AIG was the largest insurance company in the world, right? Or in America at that time. Tell us about this. So these are the streets you were kind of messenger boy, and a few years later, you're signing a multi-million-dollar contract.
When I write about that in the book, I reflect back that the first time I approached that building, the AIG building, I was a kid on a bicycle. It was raining and I had to deliver a telegram and they wouldn't let me go through security. They took the telegram, which means I was going to lose my nickel tip. Okay. I wasn't going to get a tip.
You know, at the time.
He took the Western Union. And here I am years later. I'm the head of a conglomerate of 27 companies in 3 different nations. And I have 6,000 employees, and I'm sitting at the table in the tower with Hank Greenberg, who is the creator of AIG, the genius man who created the whole thing.
Right.
We're sipping coffee on bone china, and he's handing out Cuban cigars that are illegal. And I'm inking a deal for a transaction between AIG and the company that I started and had taken public, because I'm the man who created transactionally funded errors and omission insurance, which means every time a realtor had a transaction, they could pay for it out of the transaction rather than have to pay a huge premium in the beginning of the year.
Out of pocket.
And so this was an immediate $30 million deal. Can you imagine what goes through the head of a kid who grew up with holes in his shoes, signing a pen for $30 million deal?
Carl, you got your nickel back, right?
I got my nickel. That's
your nickel. You got your nickel. Here's something too. I don't want to, because there's so much to cover and so little time here. Literally, we have 15 minutes left to kind of get all this out. You talked, was it yourself or your father that was struggling with alcoholism?
My father.
Okay, your father was, because I know there's a quote in the book about your dad, and I want to cover it. Okay. You mentioned growing up with holes in your shoes to becoming a successful business person. That doesn't happen. You don't just wake up one day and there's this paradigm shift within the family. I know you created a lot of that yourself. The quote here, there's an exchange between you and your father, and says, you basically tell him, I want to be someone someday. I want to be somebody someday. Your father just looked at you and laughs. He goes, you're going to get a job, you're going to raise a family, and you're going to die just like everybody else. Can you talk to the young entrepreneurs listening in who may be, either it's family, it could be some like a direct peer, and who may be experiencing something similar, maybe not directly that blunt, and they're just struggling to get through it because they know they have this greatness in them. Can you talk to those people and say, how do you get through it?
I think that each individual comes with a spark within them. Mm-hmm. Some of us attach to it early on in life when we know we're destined to do more things. For whatever reason, we remember things differently. We attune things differently. We see things differently than everyone around us. And we know there's more in life than my father reduced it. And I say so in the book. My father reduced it to, well, if you have kids, it's just another plate of macaroni. And that's those words being reduced to another plate of macaroni as a human being. Now, in those days, you could buy a pound of macaroni for 16 cents for a pound.
That was the value he was putting on having another child. Or at least maybe that's how he vocalized it. I don't know how he was feeling, and I don't want to.
But you see, the thing is, I learned as an adult much later on. Mm-hmm. My father did not deny me anything. He didn't have anything else to give. He did the best he could with what he had. He was a simple man, hardworking, but I saw what he didn't have, and I wanted different. Mm-hmm. And so I aspired for it. And I had a dedication and a driving ambition to be something more.
Mm-hmm.
And that something more drove me all of my life. I mean, here I am, 79. I'm going to be 80 years old next year, 79 in July. And next year I'll be 80 years old. And I'm starting a new chapter in my book. I've written a book and I'm bringing it out to the public, you know, and I could easily be sitting on my lounge chair out in I don't know if you could see in the backyard there. But
yeah, I know you're in Coral Springs, Florida. So you got a beautiful backdrop.
That's my house.
Yeah. I just want to say, not to jump too far past this thought with your father, is adversity is something that drives a lot of entrepreneurs and really people in life. It can you don't want it to define you, where the hurt that you felt is what you experience for the next 50 years or plus from that point. What you wanted to do is become the thing that drives the change. So then you go out and you can better yourself. And if people have things that they're born into, hopefully there's a moment where they realize and appreciate it and then try to replicate it in their own way. And then those who don't have it, it's a huge driver to go and get it. And it's not just about the dollar signs. I know it's not for you. It's about the change that you've made, the impact that you've made, and the people that you've impacted. You've hired a ton of people on your team. You made them a great living for their family. You have a beautiful wife now. You have 4 children, 4 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren. I mean, you're making that's called a legacy, Carl. And I know you're reflecting on it and you're super humble about it. But I just want you to help our audience out, because there's people like myself being your first audience member right now and many others listening that want to do that for themselves and their family. Can you talk about some of the influences that you did have to help you get there, whether it's a person, it could be someone you knew personally, or books you read, or where did you get that inspiration?
Well, one of the first ones was a priest. I got to know him, and when I was a boy, I had a super memory. I could memorize anything, and I never failed a test in school. One of those people never had to study. I was just a natural at it, but I was dyslexic, and I was reluctant to stand and read publicly because of my shame of being dyslexic. And this priest said to me one day, he said, "I'd like you to get up and be the lector today, read before the church." I said, "I can't do that." He said, "Why can't you do that?" "Because I suffer." He says, "I'm not asking you to act. I'm asking you to take the gift of God's words and speak them." What a measure that was for me to know that it was beyond me, that I could do anything if I just opened it up to what the opportunity gave to me.
Yeah, you changed the way you were looking at the assignment.
He said to me once, a very important lesson. He said, Nietzsche tells us what does not kill us makes us stronger. And that means that all of these things that we think are excuses to be held down, are springboards. If we use them right, they're just springboards.
I'll tell you, the people that have gotten the furthest out of life and make the biggest impact are typically those who've overcome way more things than those that didn't even try. There's that aspect of it. And then there's also, if you really evaluate a lot of the billionaires that have come in our country, many of them aren't highly college educated. And a lot of them also have come from literally nothing, created their wealth, their first generation success, right? And I think that's just inspiration for anyone listening, that you can create it. Look at Carl's story here directly. He created this, right? Not easy. Took a lot of effort. I know you didn't do it alone, and you pat everyone on, like your team, on the back for it. I think it's incredible that you've penned the book to tell many other stories, but I really want to make sure we didn't overlook your incredible legacy. So I'm glad we can do that on the show. There's another quote, Carl. I want you to elaborate on this because it's so important. We live in the social media world right now. Instant gratification. Everybody's putting their best self out to the world. And I think a lot of people are wearing masks when they do that. And the quote says, "You must choose to reveal who you are if you ever hope to be known. You can no longer rely upon the masked personality of the people pleaser." Talk about that.
Okay. That was a man by the name of Bill Thomason, who was a tremendous inspiration to me. Quite a man, a tremendous man. And he was an advisor to some of the largest, most successful businessmen and tycoons in the world. And he elected to take me on. He saw something in me. And throughout the 2 years that I worked with him, he forced me to address certain qualities that I had. And he forced me to recognize that it isn't just by saying yes to people and pleasing them and giving them what you want that you can succeed. You have to give them honesty. You have to give them the best of who you are and what you can give them. Not just please them, but please your inner soul. What is it that you have to say, and be true to it. You can't just say yes for the sake of being yes. We unfortunately, I don't want to get into politics, but we unfortunately have a world that has forgotten that. We have too many people following rather than leading. And that is a shame.
There's a great, I was penning a song many moons ago, and I'm a drummer naturally, but I also, picked up a couple cowboy chords on the guitar. And I remember one time the idea of the song title came to me first before the lyrics, and it was Lead the Follower. And it was right, like, social media wasn't even what it is now.
Yeah.
The idea of like following people was kind of a thought. And I just thought it would be really neat to write the song, instead of follow the leader, lead the follower. Like, why do you want to be a follower of a leader when you can lead the follower?
Right? And hopefully, while you're leading people, lead them into creating their own thought, to recognizing that they have something to contribute to rather than tag on to yours and follow you. You know, synergy is when more than one are together and they're stronger than their equal parts. They become something bigger in life. That's what people need to recognize. It. I've lived a long time, and I've been around the world and met a lot of different kinds of people, and everybody has a contribution to make. Everybody. It may seem like in the book you'll read a part where I talk about when I lived on Staten Island and I met this humble Indian priest, and he was on loan to the local parish where I lived, and he was just a simple little guy, and we knew him for probably 7-8 months, and it was a very cold winter. We went out Christmas caroling, and he went out without socks on, with just sandals in the cold, and his name was Father Augustine, and he made a point of sitting down with me and saying to me, I see great things in you. I see something really beneficial in you. You have to let it out. You have to speak it out. And I remember thinking to myself, he's this little priest from a humble little village in India where everybody else around him is a Hindu or a Buddhist. What does he know? He's a Catholic priest in India. Well, after he left, I was watching Meet the Press on television, and they were interviewing this humble little priest who neglected to say that he hadn't been a priest for 10 years. He'd been the Bishop of Ranchi, and he'd been in New York as the papal emissary to the UN. And this man, who was so enormous, taught me such a marvelous lesson. Stay humble, but know what you have to be in life and follow your direction.
I think, it's the people that I personally that resonate with me, whether if I'm going to spend enough time listening to what someone has to say on social media or a podcast that I listen to or a video I'm watching for inspiration, it's those that are genuine and transparent and vulnerable that really connect, because you can feel the realness. It comes across, and you're willing to listen to them, more so because they're not giving you the like overly polished version of it. Yeah. And I think humans connect with that. That's what makes us real. If everything was only the overly polished version, you never are really meeting the true person that's sitting in front of you. And I think that would be a complete sin if we only meet people and when they're trying to showcase something and they're not being real about it. I think that's incredible.
But that takes guts to be transparent like that.
It does.
So you have to be willing to show warts and all, and that's.
Yeah, and you did that in your book. I know we're coming up short on time. There's a few things I don't want to leave out of here. So in the last handful of minutes, something I do every day is I like to reflect in gratitude. I always say, be great and be grateful. You'll see it in my emails. I noticed in your book, it jumped right out of the page. You and Mary start every day in gratitude with one another, and you're vocal about it. Can you share that for all the couples that are listening right now. What do you guys do, and can you share what that means to you?
What it means to us is when we got married, we didn't sign the legal document. We became a sacrament. We became a living sacrament.
Mm-hmm.
Two people joined together with God in the center. And every day we give thanks. I give thanks before I take my head off the pillow every morning for one more day of life.
Mm-hmm.
We join together. We either read the scripture or we listen to a scripture online, and we discuss it and what it means to us individually. And we give thanks for the many blessings we have.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm alive, the fact that we live in this wonderful environment, the fact that we can live in a free nation that allows us the ability to thank God publicly and not be outcasts for it. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that remains that way forever. And I know that each day is a gift, and I give great thanks for that each day. And I have a personal scripture that I live my life by. It's Judges 5:21. Every time I send a book out, I sign it, Judges 5:21, and it says, "March on, my soul, be strong." To me, that has been a battle call.
Yeah, right. No matter what comes, just remain strong and keep moving forward every day. That's incredible. You have a beautiful family. I know you didn't get a chance to really talk too much about it. You have it's 4 kids, 4 grandkids, and 5 great-grandchildren, and a 12-year strong marriage with Mary. So just want to make sure.
Now 14.
14. I'm losing count. Yeah, because I read the book is a couple of years old now from when it was originally penned. Last thing here, I was hoping we can get the Rudy story in. I don't know if we're going to be able to do the Rudy story. People can YouTube it, though. If you type Carl's name in and you type in Rudy, there is a story that he tells. His brother Joe really created this Rudy character. And I'm telling you guys, I wish we had a little bit more time when we could tell the Rudy story. But they can YouTube that. The last couple minutes, my mission for Mic'd Up, the reason I do this and take time out of my day for the show is to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams.
Right.
What would you tell them right now if they're just...
If you waste today, you will never have the reward tomorrow. You must be bold. You must reach out. You must recognize that you're given certain strengths and abilities that are beyond your own knowledge that you think you're capable of. You know, I heard someone say recently, when you're working with a physical therapist and you go, "Ow, that hurts," they say, "Give me more, give me more." That's because the human condition is you think 40% of your tolerance is your limit. It's not. You can be so much more. You can stretch so much more. I'll give you a simple example. Again, 10 years ago, this month, April 11th, 2011, I had a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke. The entire left side of my brain had a half-inch rupture, bleeding into my skull cavity. They told my wife I will not survive. I am here. I can talk. I can walk. I can praise God every day. Without effort, but it's here.
Yeah. I mean, you have a bad day now. You got to just calm your mind and say, remember that April 11th?
Absolutely.
That's actually my sister's birthday, oddly enough. But what a story. Every time you've been hit with something, you come back a little bit stronger. And what I love about you, Carl, is you don't want it to just be your story. And if you benefit from it, maybe Mary and your kids know the story and they can reflect on it and carry it stronger through their own personal story. It doesn't end there. The book is a way for people to get these cool stories and apply it to themselves. And I'm honored to have a copy of that book. I'm honored to call you a friend and have you here today. I know this is one of the shorter interviews I had to do because we had some technical issues. But is there any last message you'd like to give out to the audience before we part ways?
Just give thanks every day and be happy and rejoice because, tomorrow's a promise. Yesterday's a memory. Today's what you got. Live and enjoy. And remember to tell people you love them. It's very important.
It's so good. Yeah. It sounds so simple, but
not simple.
It's very easy those things just get pushed aside in a busy lifestyle. Right. And everybody, I don't care if you're, a lot of people are busy and not productive, and that's a whole nother episode we can talk about. But everybody has a million things hitting them, even those that are maybe taking the day off of work. You're still getting either your family or your friends or your phone or whatever And so to pause, reflect in a state of gratitude, and just be grateful for every single moment that you have. And even if it's a bad day, like, okay, what could I learn from this experience? Opposed to why is this happening to me? Oh, this is happening for me. I mean, man, when you look at things that way, it's so different. This interview could literally be 8 hours long, and we would still run out of time.
Yeah, you can come back.
I know how to come back. I know. This is great. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to reading the rest of your book. I know my audience benefited from you being here, and they can check it out. Again, on Amazon. I even saw it was on Target. It's through Mascot Books, and the title is To Every Page a Turning. Carl, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's a pleasure being here with you. See you soon. God bless you.
Hey guys, this is Mike, and I wanted to personally thank you for tuning in, for being part of my journey. Together we can make a positive impact in the world. A shout out to everyone who's been tuning in. I love reading your feedback and appreciate the reviews on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the messages that have been coming in on social media as well. I love you guys. Thank you so much for making this journey as much fun as it's been so far. I'm doing what I love, and it's awesome to hear that it's showing up in the podcast. If you haven't left a review yet, it's greatly appreciated if you do. And of course, if you share any content on social as well, I see it all and I appreciate you helping me spread the love. You can check out more show notes and information at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com, powered by Social Chameleon. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful.